Hello everyone, this is Quyn at Quyn Lê Therapy, empowering you to be your best self and to live a great life. Today I have a very special guest on the channel. In 2019, there was a young woman at the age of 33 who just had a baby 8 months old, and she learned that she had final stage cancer and only had a few days to live. How did that woman fight to be able to heal from her cancer so she can be here today to share with us her story? What was the power of her mind was like to help her heal her body, heal herself, transform her life, and has since inspired many others. And so I'm very pleased to introduce to you today Linda Bùi. I've had a chance to interview her for a Vietnamese radio show, and today I would love for you to hear her story in the English version. I have also linked the video to the Vietnamese version in the description as well, so feel free to check it out if you like to hear it in Vietnamese. So without further ado, here is Linda Bùi. So thank you, Linda, for agreeing to come here and share inspiring, amazing story.
Thank you for having me. As I listened to you introduce me, my thought is, I can't believe that was me. I am very grateful that I'm here today. I'm alive and I'm healthy and I'm doing well in all areas of my life.
Walk us through a little bit when you received the diagnosis and those first few days or the first week. What was that like for you?
You're just in denial at first. That you're just kind of like, okay, is this real? Is this really happening? Especially, I think for me as a younger person in my 30s, I would never expect cancer. And overall I was healthy. At that time I did recently have a baby, so I was a new mom. But prior to that, I was healthy. I didn't have any health issues. So it was very unexpected. So it put me into a state of denial where I just couldn't really fully accept it. And on top of that, I was told it was a rare lymphoma. For the first week, I was uncertain, like, is this life-threatening? Is this like something that will get cured? It wasn't until my body progressively got more and more sick. I actually had tumors that grew rapidly, and I could see it growing. So I had lymphoma, so that's a cancer in the blood. And because it's a cancer in the blood, it was all over my body. I had on my chest, I had on my temple, my back, my side. So far, I was just in my main torso, hasn't gone down to my legs yet. But it was everywhere. And
how big were they about?
Well, when they first grew, it was the size of a quarter. Like when I first noticed one,
quarter,
or the size of $1, let's say. And then every day it would grow and grow and grow, and it became like the size of a lemon.
Yeah, wow.
And it felt very scary, to see it. I think there's a lot of different other cancers where it's like, let's say in your lungs or in somewhere in your gut, and you don't actually physically see it growing. But for me, I saw it physically growing. It was red, it was sore, it was painful, and it looks like a big bruise on my skin. So I could see it growing, so it was very scary. I actually had a very intense treatment of 4 different chemo drugs at the maximum dosage, all delivered to my body within 2 hours. And my body could not handle all of that was going on. I lost control of my body. It was shaking uncontrollably. My fever went up to 41 degrees. And I was yet shivering and so cold and shaking. And at some point, I just blacked out. And I knew and I was aware that I blacked out because upon entering this black space, my consciousness was aware that I'm in this black space.
Tell us how that healing journey began. But you talked about letting go and surrender. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so in that moment, the doctor had explained to me probably for the second or third time, because the first two times I wasn't aware to listen. They had said, and they really, really tried to convince me because apparently I kept refusing treatment. They brought my family in, and there was only 3 or 4 people that was allowed to come into the ICU room. And then he showed a monitor, and he really detailed explained, this is Linda's lung, this is a normal lung. And my lung was all black. He had said in a couple days or less, her lungs will be filled up with fluid and she can no longer breathe. On top of the lymphoma, I developed another very rare condition called HLH, where the life expectancy is not very long, just about 6 months only. So he had explained that he treated 12 people with HLH and only 1 had ever lived. Wow. So I was given all of these numbers and prognosis and statistics and the likelihood of me living.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And luckily, I have a spiritual practice where I remained mindful and present. And I just decided, you know what? I hear what the doctor's saying. It does sound very, very scary. But in that moment, I didn't let the fear overcome me. I didn't fall victim to feeling fearful of death. I just decided I want to live. I have a young son who was 10 months by that time. And I wanted to be around for him. And there's so much more in life I wanted to do. So those thoughts did come through my mind. And I just decided I'm going to be okay. I'm going to live and I'm going to be okay. And I just surrendered. I surrendered all my fears. I surrendered all my doubts or whatever it is, fear of death, fear of anything. I just surrendered and I let go, and I just laid there and I just relaxed. And I just told myself, I will be okay. Everything will be all right. I will live. Yeah. And I physically felt that peace in my body. Yeah. I decided that.
Right. And so within the next few days, things started to change for you, isn't it? Because you left the hospital not long after that.
Yes, I actually was released to go home in 5 days from being in the ICU and told that I only had a couple days to live.
Yeah. After you got home, what's factors that began to help you to heal? What did you have to do?
Emotionally, I couldn't deal with much. So I was actually, and I think this is the body's way of protecting us. I was completely numb to emotions. I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't feel love. I couldn't feel joy. I couldn't feel happiness. I did feel some of the negative emotions though. Loneliness and despair and hopelessness, but not strongly.
Yeah.
It was almost, I felt it like it was there, but I was numb to it. I didn't have a reaction to those emotions, except for when I lost my hair and saw my hair fall out. That was a very emotional moment for me. But I did do things such as I only drank alkaline water. So I bought the alkaline water machine. I ate organic and vegan. I cut out all sugars, all, unhealthy foods. And then I just worked on living a healthy lifestyle. And I made sure to not lay in bed all day and feel sad and feel like a victim or poor me, woe is me. I couldn't sit all day or lay in bed all day because I had a son to take care of.
Oh, really? So you had to take care of your son at that time too?
Yes. I had to take care of myself. I was actually in a lot of pain from all the chemo and all the drugs that I had to be on.
What kind of pain?
I had bone pain in my spine. I had my hands and fingers and elbows and knees. So it was actually difficult to move my fingers. It hurt so much. So that made it very difficult to take care of a baby.
Yeah. Oh. So how long did you focus on the physical healing before you went on the emotional healing? How long did you do that for?
Well, so after 6 months, I got my PET scan again after my 6 treatments of chemo. I was declared cancer-free.
That's not common, right?
No. So I think my body reacted very well. And I think it's due to my mindset of my determination of wanting to heal and get better. determined. And this is how I am with anything in life. And that's how I am here where I am today, because after physically healing and getting better, by July of 2020, I had my physical strength back enough to start working out a tiny bit and now go to get physio and start my physical health and go work out and go for walks. But I actually had to do things to help myself feel again. I went to hypnosis. I did Reiki. I did acupuncture. I had to do all of these things to help open up and clear my energy centers, my chakras, because I was just so numb to feeling things. I felt uninspired in life. I felt lost and confused, and I needed my motivation back. And so I had to get all these treatments.
You talked about healing from some of the traumas in the past. Can you talk more about that?
As I started my healing journey, I had to work on my emotional, spiritual healing. And I dedicated a lot of time to just healing. And what came up for me was my inner child, my inner self. I had abandoned her. I had lived a life where I put her last. I put myself last. And I needed to recognize that I need to build my trust with myself again and take care of myself and trust in my own self, trust in my own ability to be responsible for my life. And so I would do breath work and somatic therapy and meditation. And I did EMDR as well as neurofeedback. And all of these treatments, every time I did them, glimpses and memories of my childhood would show up.
Like what kind of memories?
I would see myself in the hospital, because I was actually hospitalized for 1 month as a 3-year-old by myself with no parents. So I was separated from my parents. We were in the Hong Kong refugee camp at the time, and so they could not leave the camp, and I was sick, so I was just taken away to the hospital. I would get glimpses and memories of me being in the hospital and of how I felt, how scary it was, how lonely and how sad it was. It wasn't the truth, but as a child, you don't know. So my parents abandoned me, and that they must not love me. Like, they left me to be here. And what's interesting is that time in my life as a 3-year-old hospitalized, I never healed it. I never looked at it. I actually disassociated and completely forgot that memory. Like literally I had memory loss.
And you were a boat person as a child too, right?
At the age of 2, yes. So there was a lot of childhood trauma that I went through. I remember as that 3-year-old in the hospital, when I was first taken to the hospital, terrified and scared, and I thought these people were trying to kill me because sick, and these were doctors and nurses, and they needed to, poke me with a needle or put some, and it felt scary. It felt like they were it was a scary thing. I haven't experienced being in a hospital before. I didn't know what this experience was all about, but it was terrifying.
And no one there to comfort you, no one there that you knew.
And hence that memory, that experience when I was in the hospital with cancer in the emergency that time too, the thought of these people were trying to kill me came back up. It was anchored into me from childhood. And so when I'm in the hospital again and doctors around and this and that, a sudden fear of they're trying to kill me. So that's why I kept telling the doctors, get away from me, you're trying to kill me as an adult in the hospital.
You talked about growing up and how the family context sort of further contributed to that self-limiting belief.
Yes.
Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, well, it definitely doesn't help to grow up in a very traditional Vietnamese family with Vietnamese parents. Growing up, I was always told by my dad, I'm just a girl. What can I do? I was never encouraged or supported even by my mom. They valued the fact that I was quiet. I never complained. I only did that because I felt that I had to be a good girl in order to be loved, because I had that childhood experience of feeling abandoned. And then the fear of I better be a good girl, otherwise my parents will abandon me again.
How did those beliefs have an impact on your relationship?
I think it affected a lot, because in the relationship, I again did not ask for playing the role of, okay, I gotta do these things, cook, clean, take care of things to be a good partner, to be a good wife. And I didn't ask for my needs. Like I didn't ask for help. I just toughed it up. My whole life, I would do things on my own, even going through cancer, because there's this some sort of programming or limiting belief that I can't ask others for help. I have to do it on my own. And I think it also anchored in from when I was 3 years old in the hospital, where I did ask for help and cry for my mom, and she never came. And I think imprinted in me that, there's
What's
no
the
one.
point of asking?
Yeah, no one's helping. No one's coming.
Yeah. There were some signs that you were in an abusive relationship. Can you talk more about that?
Well, I think it was pretty clear and evident that the relationship was abusive, but I couldn't fully recognize because I actually grew up in a somewhat dysfunctional family with my parents being the way they are. I was never told what a good relationship looks like. And so I think when I experienced the abuse in my own relationship, it was almost as if, this is kind of normal. I've seen it before. It's no big deal. There were some red flags, just being called names, having the anger of my husband being angry with me for random little things. I didn't fully recognize it as abuse at first. There was so many different elements and levels of abuse: emotional, mental, physical. I didn't get physically punched, but there was a lot in different ways that were physical. And actually later on, I also recognized there was financial abuse, which I didn't even know that was a form of abuse. There was just so much manipulation, and I was really brainwashed. Actually, I felt brainwashed in believing that this is how I should be treated, and this is how it is, and I am stupid because I'm told I'm stupid by him, and I don't know any better. I was just believing in all that was told to me, and I couldn't think for myself.
Right. So here you were healing from cancer. At what point did you say to yourself, this relationship was another form of cancer in my life. I got to do something about it.
Even before I had cancer, I knew the relationship was toxic and bad. I'm pretty certain I manifested the cancer as well, because we can manifest things either way, negative or positive, into our life. And after giving birth, I was treated so poorly that, and I was so tired and exhausted as a new mom, and I had no help. I thought to myself, oh my God, I can't continue like this. I'm going to get sick, because I felt so tired. I thought to myself, I'm going to get sick. I mean, I didn't think I was going to get cancer sick.
Yeah.
But I had that thought come to my mind, and I was resentful towards myself for being in that situation. So I was literally hating on myself and allowing myself and my body to eat away cancer coming. So pretty much 6-7 months after giving birth, I started sick.
Yeah, that was sort of your body's way to really resist what was going on in your life.
Yeah, and through some of the experiences I've had, our body always tells us and speaks our truth and lets us know what's going on. And when you feel anxiety and depression or some sort of discomfort in any way, a disease, it's your body, hey, pay attention inwards now. The pain is for you to recognize something. And I was in denial, though, when I first gave birth, and I was in denial of the situation. I pushed myself. I forced myself to accept the situation I was in and not complain and not change and not do anything. And I think the cancer came for me to be like, hey, it's life and death now. You need to really, really look at your life and recognize your situation. It's not good for you. You need to make changes.
So when you finally stood up and said, enough is enough, what was the reaction in your family, from him even?
Well, my family never liked my partner because I had cancer and I couldn't work and I couldn't even help out with the household things. It seemed to me useless and felt like of use to him anymore. So I think for him it was like, okay, good, like, sure, leave then because you're so useless. They only keep you around if you're useful in some ways. And for him, because there wasn't really a love between us, it was just a convenience of having someone in your life that fulfilled certain things. It took a couple months. We actually talked about me leaving and not being together for a couple months before I actually left. He would say that, But I think also he has his own shadows and his own inner work that he needs to do and recognize, and what are traumas and limiting beliefs he's gone through in his life as a child. On the outside, he would say, okay, yeah, good, leave. And he would do things to stop me from leaving.
Right. Oh, yeah. Like what?
Like take the car keys.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Take the car and had to like take the taxi if I wanted to leave or figure it out. So it's like, okay, well, you're making it difficult. I can't pack my things.
You really care about, appearance, right? And that's important. That was important to you. And so losing your hair was tough. How did you begin to practice self-love?
So when I was going through cancer, my body was deformed because I had tumors and lumps all over. Yeah. And it wasn't body shape anymore. It was just deformed in my eyes. But I already had that body image issue when I looked at my body. And so when I lost my hair, and I was resistant to shaving my head, so I just let the hair fall out. It was very traumatizing to see, and I don't recommend anyone do that. So it's better to just shave it one day versus like for 2 weeks as my hair fell every day. I went through that pain.
Kind of like symbolic, isn't it? Letting go of the relationship or just letting it die slowly, eh?
Yeah, I think that's kind of my nature.
Okay.
I couldn't look at myself at all during that time. Once my hair fell out, I would wear a wig when I go out. And it's not that comfortable. So at home, I would just wear a cap to hide my bald head. I couldn't look at it, and I couldn't look at myself. I didn't look at myself in the mirror for a couple months. I couldn't do it. And this was a form of denial and of not loving myself. Probably a year after when I started my self-love journey, I practiced by looking at myself in the mirror every day and tried to see the beauty in me and see that I am beautiful regardless of having hair or not, regardless, having makeup on or whatever body shape. Really look at myself. And then I had to apologize to that Linda who didn't love that version of me when I was going through cancer. My body was different. When I didn't have hair, I denied her.
Right. And yet your body was fighting to live. Right? Yes. It was so strong and fighting to live. And yet there was a part of you that couldn't look at it.
Yes. And that's why I had to apologize to myself, do that inner healing work to let that version of me know that I'm sorry and that I do love her regardless. And I love myself. It took months of doing that. Because not only did I see that myself as unbeautiful, but my ex-husband would tell me every day that I'm not. I mean, he didn't say you're not beautiful. He would just say awful comments about my look.
What do you see today when you look in the mirror?
It's still practice. It's still, I still do it every day. I still have my mirror practice that I do every day. Before I put on makeup, while I put on makeup, and after I put on makeup to get ready for my day, I still look at myself and I compliment myself and tell myself that I am beautiful. And I really, really, really see it now. And like my skin's been breaking out because I haven't been taking good care of myself this past month. I see the acne and I still tell myself like, it's okay. Like I'm still beautiful.
Yeah.
Acne on my face, and just really learn to accept myself fully. And it's not something that happens overnight.
That's the thing about self-love, right? Some of us, like, I gotta lose the weight to accept my body, or I gotta have clear, beautiful skin to accept my body, or I gotta make the wrinkles go away with some Botox or something, right? To really like my body and myself. And yet we gotta really like and love and appreciate ourselves and accept ourselves. And then it helps us to get there if we really want to get there.
Yes.
We may not even want to get there, right? But it is that starting with that self-acceptance. Yeah, it's not like one day I just choose to love myself, right?
It took me 32 years of denying myself, being critical, judging myself. Like it was 32 years of doing that to myself by always feeling that it's not good enough. And so, it's been 2 years since I started my healing journey. And so because it was 32 years of all that abuse towards myself.
Yeah. If someone, who just received a diagnosis of cancer or have been fighting with that diagnosis, what would be your advice to them?
I think first you just have to accept that this is what's happening. This is the situation that you're in, because the distance, the more denial, and the more fear of it, it's just gonna cause more turmoil for you inside. So I think being able to come to that place of acceptance, this is what it is, then to just really look deep within yourself to see, what is this diagnosis trying to tell me? Or what is my body trying to express to me? At the same time, though, as you reflect on that, to also have a firm and strong belief that you get to decide your life. You get to decide, if you live or die or whatever the outcome that you want. Although most of us, when we get a diagnosis, we allow that decision to be made for us by the doctors outside. But this is our body. We know our body best. And so we get to decide and choose. That's what I did. And firmly believed that it's possible for me to heal and get better.
If someone finds themselves in an abusive relationship, what would be some guidance or some tips you'd like to offer them?
It's very difficult. And when you're in a relationship, you kind of lose sight of what's real, of your own reality. I think the best thing I did was actually I finally had the courage and confidence. So I think if you find yourself in that situation, it's so hard to think for yourself. I talked to a friend who happens to be a lawyer. She was a lawyer who deals with domestic abuse. So when I shared with her, able to give me the explanation behind what I'm going through is normal, and she sees this all the time. So that helped me to put things in perspective, that, this is not just a thing that only happens to me. And just to recognize what's actually going on, that it is abuse, awareness that it was abuse, to really accept that too. And I think if you're in an abusive situation, the best thing is to talk to someone, perhaps an expert, a counselor, someone you trust, to perspective on things. And of course, also someone who is neutral as well. Like, I didn't share with my family because I judge me, and that they would tell me, such as, just leave him. But it's not that easy. Like, if they tell me that I can't do it, now I further feel stuck.
So tell us, what's been wonderful about your life now?
Well, I had to rebuild my life from rock bottom.
Yeah.
From a health crisis, from recovering from an abusive relationship, from financial debts. Within a year, though, because I was so determined and spent at least half of a year doing our healing work and working on myself, within a year, I met everything that I wanted. Like, I wanted to have my own home to live with my son. I wanted to have a Tesla. I wanted a job, a career in real estate, and I got all of those things. So I'm at a place now in my life where I'm enjoying and loving my life, feel secure and safe in my own home, and feel happy to live the life that I'm living. Although I still have anxiety and PTSD, so it still come up for me pretty often. Almost I get anxiety, but I'm aware of my anxiety, and it goes away in a couple hours or sometimes half a day. But I still go through those struggles every day, but I'm still happy and enjoying. It's one day I feel and the next day I feel great. So my life isn't perfect. It's not like I feel happy and joyful every day, but overall I'm much, much more happy now than I was 2 years ago.
Yeah. And 10 years from now, you'll be somewhere else on your journey, right? And then 20 years from now. Thank you so much, Linda, for your wonderful story. And I just love how you talk about, my life's not perfect now. And yet I'm continuing to build and build on it and practice self-love. And I understand this, being a single mom and being a realtor, very busy, isn't it? And yet you manage to practice and even teach meditation every day.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed meditation and find peace and calm in it.
Yeah.
And I benefit from it too, so I try to share there as well.
I really hope that whoever listens to this can learn a lot about the incredible power of one's mind and one's determination to turn one's life around. Even if you've been told you have a few days to live, or been told by your partner or husband that you're stupid, that you are useless, or whatever that might be, that you can free yourself from all the cobwebs of pain and deceptions and begin to heal.
I just want to say that, yes, you can create the life that you want. You just have to believe in it and believe in yourself and have trust.
Thank you for tuning in.